Good evening. My name is Matthew Bentler, and I'm a student at Grand Canyon University, and this is my Dispositions to Teach video. I would just like to start say I'm here in my home office, and would just like to get going into the video presentation now. First off, I would like to start by talking about my disposition strengths. I've thought about this a lot, and I definitely think there's two of them that definitely stick out to me. The first one would be honesty. I think that's very important for a teacher to say what you mean and mean what you say, and to make sure that you're always being open and telling the truth to your students. I think that's going to help them more than anything in the long run. I think holding back from a truth could wind up hurting them, especially at a young age. I think it's important that you're honest with your students. And also another strength, which is, to me, I actually think is the most important disposition of all. A lot of people will go off and say things like the honesty and sort of the normal things are kind of the common things to say. But for me, I actually think that reflection is the most important and probably my biggest strength going forward as a teacher. I think it's really important to learn from your mistakes, learn from others, and learn from your students. And nobody's perfect, and I think it's extremely important to become better, to become the best teacher that you can be. It's really important for you to learn from some of the things that you've done in the past to help improve your teaching methods and how you are as a person overall. So for me, those are the two biggest strengths. I think my weaknesses, when it comes to the professional dispositions, it might be advocacy is probably the one that comes to mind. For me, I would need to probably work a little bit more on building relationships and really kind of getting to know and understand the student, where they come from, their background, what kind of makes them tick per se. That would be something I think I could use some work on for sure. The attributes that a professional teacher have, I think, and how they behave, like I just said, honesty is very important. I think that being professional in the environment, obviously being in an educational environment, that's also a very important attribute to have. Being engaging is important. You just don't want to have that teacher that's just kind of up there monotone, just going through the motions, so to speak. So I think it's important that you're engaging and always kind of have an open door with your students. So those would definitely be something that would help, I think. Excuse me. The teacher dispositions that positively or negatively affect. I thought about this too. I don't know if there is anything that could be negative. I mean, there can be, I guess, if you're just really not doing your job. I think maybe you could have a negative impact on an adolescent mind. Maybe, I guess in some scenarios, if you're too honest about something, like, maybe an example is they did something really bad, instead of, trying to, sometimes you can kind of sugarcoat it and still get your point across, rather than just being completely blatantly honest. I think maybe that could have, if you did it like that, it could have a negative impact. But I think the positive impacts that it has on development of kids is definitely a good thing. I mean, I think you build those relationships through honesty, through reflection, through advocacy. Those things really help to kind of, bring in your classroom and engage everybody there and make sure that everybody has an understanding of what's going on and also has the desire to learn. And having that understanding that everybody can learn, I think, is extremely important as well. The expectations of professional, including code of ethics, for me, I think that I think starting off, you just want to definitely don't put yourself in a bad position. I think is something that you want to make sure of. You have these stories of teachers and students being involved in that kind of thing, and you want to stay away from that kind of an environment at all costs. So that would be one thing. That's be a way to make sure that you're adhering to the code of ethics. Continued education is another way that you would, practice your profession to make sure you're giving the best to your students. And then also, just like I said before, just, being professional, dressing professionally, acting professionally, and speaking professionally, I think is all very important things. And finally, promoting healthy and moral development, I think are some of the same things I just kind of touched on. Um, you know, being from a Christian background, I think is very helpful for me, and not necessarily that that's something that has to be that way, but for me to be able to be effective with my students and promote their moral development and their character building is from my Christian background. And I think that, always being encouraging, understanding, and, giving them the best that you can, even if you're having a bad day. Those are the kind of things that I think can help a student go a long way, even the ones that are struggling. I think if you're always giving them your best, always being encouraged, positive encouragement, I think that's a great way to, give the best to your students. That finishes my video presentation. I thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great night. Thank you very much.